All right, let's get going. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kathy McLeish. I'm one of the co-chairs of Women in Media, along with Kath Webber, who's on, who I'm sure you also know. Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have you all on board and excited to have you to join us for the second event in the WiM Bytes online series. The series is proving extremely popular and I'm going to claim a record event for tonight, record attendance. We sold more than 100 tickets. There's about 60 of you online now. So we know, busy media women juggling jobs and kids and all the the extra things you do for everybody, including women in media. So thank you to you all, and it's really lovely to have you on board tonight. And while I'm sort of recognising that, I also just want to say thank you so much to the amazing team of Wonder Women who came together to create this fabulous initiative, led by Joanne Sanders and Sky Rugless and supported by our digital gurus, Danielle Cronin and Sue Bell. It's just so fantastic to be able to get everyone together, and there's so much that we want to talk about. And I guess for for media women, it's such a specific area. You can talk to other people, but it's you're suddenly talking the same language when we're talking to each other. So I know what it means to me to be able to get together with you all, and I hope that it's that much for all of you as well. It's just great to have this series of informal conversations and get-togethers each week. And we're really keen to see what more we can do with online events for media women after COVID-19 passes and the world restarts. So stay tuned for that, and let us know if you have ideas for great speakers or subjects and things you'd like to know more about, because we're really keen to keep this kicking along and keep these conversations going. Tonight, I'm really excited about tonight's session, and it's such a timely subject for all of us. Many of us are thinking about our careers and directions while we're in this temporary holding pattern, and it's a great idea to stop and, a great time, an opportunity really to stop and think about some of this. Some of us have been forced into thinking about, changes that we probably wouldn't have chosen to make, or there are impacts. So we know that it's a tough time for a lot of people as well. Many of us are reviewing where our careers are at, and what our feelings are about our current jobs, our job security, what's ahead for us in our industry, and what do we actually want? What is it that we would most like to do, and is there a direction we'd like to go in? So this is just fantastic to be able to have our speaker tonight. She's extraordinary, we think. She's been amazing for women in media. Holly Brailsford is an organisational psychologist. So for those who are unfamiliar with the term, it means she specialises in the science of people at work. So organisational psychologists analyse organisations and their people, and they devise strategies to recruit, motivate, develop and change and inspire, develop, change and inspire people and industry to pursue, and their people to pursue and navigate rewarding careers, which deliver results for everybody. So Holly is also leading the Women in Media mentoring program through her own organisation, Brancher, which is her own startup with her co-founder. It's the first mentoring platform that takes into account personality and values when matching. So that's the, Women in Media is teaming with Brancher to kick that off as our Women in Media mentoring program this year. It's super exciting. It will take into account not just your your areas of interest or what you think you would want to know, but also will help you tease out what it is you're interested in, and it will match you to mentors, not just on areas of mutual experience but also and interest, but also personality and people who you share ideals and sort of ethics with and values. So we're really excited to see what that program delivers, and super excited for what that will mean for people individually. We know that mentoring and being a mentee and a mentor is rewarding on both ends. And I know personally that from my own experience of mentoring that I've learned a lot from my mentees every time. And it's been a very rewarding thing to do. So that program is kicking off. The applications are available online now, and we'd love you to be involved. Holly will tell you a bit more about that at the end, but we'll be sending that link out to you as well.
Dinner is ready.
Where now I'm going to hand over to Holly, and she'll sort of step you through it. I'll just let you know that we will have a Q&A at the end. We'll probably have about 10 minutes for Q&A. We will be recording the session, but we'll turn it off for the Q&A. So the recording will be available if you want to let other media women know that it's available, if it's been rewarding to you and you think it will be helpful to others. But your questions will be in-house in this conversation, so they won't be recorded and they won't go further. If you'd like to ask questions, and I'll just quickly briefly run on this now and I'll let you know later, but you can ask directly if you want to stay anonymous, or just go through on the chat page and list your questions on the way through, and we'll put up the most sort of relevant frequent questions at the end to Holly. I'll pass them on to her. I'd love to introduce Holly Brailsford, who is our wonderful mentor leader, and I'll hand you over to her very capable hands.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you for that very kind introduction, and good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to be Women in Media's mentoring partner, and even more excited to be here with all of you tonight. I'm sitting here in my apartment. I'm also in Brisbane, where I have been living and working for what now feels like forever. So I was very excited at the opportunity to do this webinar because, one, it's such a great engaging topic that we really don't spend enough time learning about, and two, because it meant I got to get my blazer out of the cupboard to dress up for you all tonight, even if I am still in my slippers down below. So thank you for joining us on the webinar. As you would have seen in the invitation, and as Kathy was mentioning, tonight is all about navigating career decisions and finding your next step. What a big topic, especially when you consider that over the last couple of months, we've been experiencing something that we've never experienced before. Most of us have been working from home. Some of us have also been homeschooling our children. And unfortunately, some of us have either been stood down or made redundant. So although it's been somewhat crazy, we have taken the time to slow down and reflect on what's really important to us. And as Kathy was saying, we've been asking ourselves questions, thinking about, how do I find my next step? How do I find my purpose? Am I really happy in my job? Am I really happy in with my current work-life balance? Is my job secure? What skills should I build? And so as a result of all of these thoughts and questions, we find ourselves trying to navigate quite tricky career decisions. We're now going to do an anonymous polling activity so that we can see the range of career decisions that the audience is facing, and also so that you can understand that you're not alone. So if you feel comfortable, tell us what career decisions you're currently facing or thinking about. We're going to start a polling activity, and you should be able to see it on your screens, where you can tell us, have you been thinking about changing careers, starting your own business, freelancing, doing further study, leaving a job, applying for a new job, accepting a job, lots of different decisions. So this is the first time that we're doing this polling activity, so let's cross our fingers that it works. Sky, did you want to give any further instructions on how people can answer the poll?
You need to go unmute.
Hi, Holly. Sorry, Jo here. If you need to press the poll.
Launch. Okay, I've done that. Excellent.
Yes. So it should come up in chat.
Attendees are now viewing questions. Oh, great. We're getting some responses.
Great.
We could please describe one. How do you, there's no way that you can describe. So it just says, please describe.
You can type it in the comments section if you feel comfortable not being anonymous.
Oh, that's fine. Yep. Okay, cool.
And the returning to work one is cut off, but that's meant to say returning to work, and that could be after parental leave or after you're taking a career break. Okay, so we've had 47 people now respond out of the 62 on the line. I'll just wait 30 more seconds and then I'll start sharing some of the results. Awesome. So you should now be able to see the results on your screen if all is working well. You can see some of the top responses are applying for a new job. 42% of you are thinking about that. 25% are thinking about changing careers. Equally, 25% are thinking about starting your own business or freelancing. Lots of entrepreneurs in the room. 19% doing further study or leaving a job. And then 15% applying or pushing for that promotion. Just a few thinking about accepting a job at 2% or taking a career break at 4%. A few people thinking about returning to work after leave. Excellent. Thank you everyone for responding to that. So as you can see by those results, we've got lots of different career decisions that everyone is facing right now. Regardless of what career decision you're facing, this evening I'll be talking to you about an evidence-based career decision-making framework, which is designed to support you make this decision that you're facing. Because we only have limited time together tonight, and also because I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you exactly what you should do, but I can give you the tools and resources you need to come to that decision yourself. I've also developed a career decision-making guide specifically for this session and Women in Media members. So we'll be sharing that guide out after the session so that you can feel even more confident and equipped to pursue those career goals. So I just have two goals for this webinar, and that is that in less than 1 hour, you will have this evidence-based framework and you'll understand what WiM's mentoring program is all about. That's what we'll finish up with. So let's jump into the model. On the screen there, you'll be able to see a circular model. It's called the RAISE model. It's an evidence-based and structured model that's designed to support you through the process of making a career decision, regardless of what that career might be. So it's not linear, and that means, for example, you could begin at the ask stage, or you could begin at the identify stage. Whatever stage you start at, you can work your way around that model. And so tonight I'll be talking through each one of those steps, starting with reflect. So reflect is arguably the biggest step. Reflection should be a skill that we should all continuously practice throughout our career, as it's essential and crucial to ongoing growth and development. Research shows that employees who spend 15 minutes at the end of their day reflecting about lessons learned perform 23% better after 10 days of doing it than those who did not reflect. So the business case is clear. Reflection can make you happier, healthier, and it can even improve your cognitive abilities. Reflecting regularly can also help you to have an even better understanding of what you want for your next career move. So regardless of what career decision you're facing, it's important to reflect on the career decision at hand, considering both internal and external factors. And so when we say internal factors, that's thinking about what are your values, your strengths, what are your career passions, and what is your why? And the external factors being external factors and opportunities. So you can reflect on your values and strengths by asking yourself a series of questions, or you can complete one of the many online strength assessment tools to help you reflect on those. In the career guide that I'll share after the session, I'll link some of those free online assessments that you can do. In the meantime, though, for now, let's see some of the values and strengths of the women in this webinar. If you feel comfortable, start typing and sharing those in the comments so that we can see the diversity of skills and values that we have in the room. So it will also help to prompt others thinking. I was looking at the attendee list before I dialed in tonight, and I can see that we've got people from all across Australia from various different careers and industries. So let's start with strengths. Type into the comments, what are you good at? Be proud of it. What are you good at? They could be skills, they could be attributes. What have others complimented you on? What is easy to check off your to-do list? Excellent. So we're seeing meeting deadlines, lots of stuff about working to deadlines, leadership, attention to detail, finding good stories, work ethic, reliability, people skills, listening to talent, strong contacts. So as you can see, when you start asking yourself a few questions, you can pretty easily start putting some stuff down on paper. What about values? Start asking yourself, what's important to you in life? Imagine your ideal world in 5 years' time. What would the world be like if everything was perfect? And what are the common themes in that perfect world? If you had $1 million, what would you do with it? Sometimes that can start getting you thinking about what your true values are. Or if you only had 48 hours to live, what would you do? Fair pay, be kind, be valued, giving back, integrity, honesty, curiosity, empathy, education, learning, teaching. Some great values coming through as well. So a lot of you seem to be able to rattle off some of your values and your strengths. The other important thing to consider is your passion. This is an interesting one. Reflecting on your career passions is often not as straightforward. It's often you know it or you don't. And so some psychology researchers will say, find your passion and follow it to have a meaningful life. More recently, other researchers are challenging that, finding that searching for your passion is not that easy. It can make you feel indecisive, uncomfortable, and confused, and that may be because passion is often a consequence, not a cause. Passion grows as you make progress, as you become more successful in your role. So you'll often not love what you do if you're not good at it. So putting all of that research together, if you know your passion, great. Look for ways to pursue it, either in your role or outside of your existing role, outside of work. And if you don't know what you're passionate about, instead of trying to find it and getting exhausted by that, try to test and learn, have a curious mindset, and pursue a career where you'll all have the opportunity to learn and try different things. Testing and learning what you like, what you don't like is often one of the ways where people find their career passions. In the middle of the reflect diagram, you'll see we have your why. This is your purpose in life. And we had a few questions come in submitted to this webinar saying, how do I find my purpose? This will become easier once you have reflected on your values, your strengths, and your passions. Your why is the legacy you want to leave, and it's important to consider as you're reflecting on the decision at hand. And finally, I mentioned those external factors. That's economic, political, technological, societal trends and issues, as well as opportunities. So the guide I'll send you after this session will talk through how to put all of this information together and document this clearly. And once you've done that, it's time to ask. So regardless of what career decision you're facing, there will be questions you'll want to ask either to find out more information or to seek feedback from others. For example, if you're thinking about changing careers, but you're not sure what you want to do, you might want to talk to people in different fields of interest to try and understand what you might like and what you may dislike. Similarly, if you're trying to change careers and move into a new field, you may want to ask for advice from people in that field. By shadowing, volunteering, freelancing are also great ways of getting exposure and giving you that opportunity to ask those key questions. If you're thinking about leaving a job, you'd want to ask, are you wanting to leave because you're having a bad day or a bad week? And if so, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received is don't leave. Every job will have bad days and weeks. So wait until you're having a good week. And then if you're still wanting to leave, well, then maybe there's a reason for it. If you're thinking about taking a career break or returning to work, we had about 6% of people say this was what they were thinking about. Talk to someone who's been through that experience and ask them all your burning questions. If you're thinking about applying for a job, you'd want to ask some key questions to the recruiter so that you're fresh in their mind when they're reviewing your resume, but also so that you have all of the key information you need to make you feel comfortable. And that goes on to accepting a job, which often comes hand in hand with negotiating your pay, one of the trickiest conversations that we may face. So there are 2 tips that we have around this. The first one is if you are asked for your previous salary, tell them something like, after doing my research on current industry benchmarking, my salary expectations are X, assuming you've done your research, of course. And that's because there's no reason to state what you were previously paid. That's a driving reason behind the gender pay gap. The second piece of advice here is if the salary does not meet your expectations, negotiate. I know it's not easy, but you're all great researchers. You have the skills to be able to find out how to do this well. And so therefore it just takes energy and confidence to be able to have that conversation. Most of us know that there's an Australian gender pay gap of 16%. And in media, unfortunately, it's even bigger at 23%. And yet, despite this, women are less likely to negotiate their pay. So don't make the same mistake that others do. Have confidence, know your worth, be proud of your achievements, and negotiate that pay rise. The third step is identify. So once you've reflected on the decision and asked for more information and feedback, it's time to put that information together and identify gaps between your current state and your future state. So I won't talk through exactly what's required for every career decision here, just due to time. You can refer to the guide for more tailored advice, but I'll just provide one example to put this into context and bring it to life. So if you're thinking about, let's say, changing careers, that was one of the most top picked options. Think about what are the gaps between your current and ideal future state, that job or career that you want. Do you need to upskill? Do you need to practice certain skills? Do you need to shadow someone or have coffee with someone in that career to increase your understanding of what it would be like? Do you need to start building your network to uncover the hidden job market? Do you need to seek out a mentor to support you through this? So identifying your gaps so that you can then identify your goals, both long-term and short-term, will help you to continue working through that decision. Having long-term goals is, again, a bit of a controversial point. I was on a webinar the other day where someone was sharing that they have never had long-term career goals and they're about to retire. They have they've had an amazing career and they still are having a great career. And yet they've never had those long-term goals. It's just never really worked out for them. And so whilst having long-term goals can make your career path more efficient because you can make those strategic career decisions that can quickly accelerate your career, the career path, I believe, is no longer linear. There's a lot of research coming out, and I'm sure you see this in action in your own workplaces where people are jumping across horizontally, diagonally, zigzagging up the career ladder. And so it can become quite difficult to think about what your long-term goal is. It's estimated that 14% of the global workforce will need to change careers and learn new skills due to automation. So as a result, many people are feeling like it's more important to focus on the immediate short term and instead take opportunities as they arise. In short, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. Regardless of whether you set a long-term goal or not, you can still have a successful career. It's really the short-term goal setting that matters. And when thinking about setting that short-term goal, you may be familiar with the SMART goal theory. You should be setting a short-term goal that is specific for S, measurable for M, attainable, A, realistic, R, and time-bound for the T. Setting a SMART goal means that you're going to be more likely to achieve it. So I'm sure that many of you have heard of that before. An example of a SMART goal would be, for example, within the next 2 weeks, I will update my resume and I'll send this off to a couple of key mentors to seek their feedback. So setting those short-term milestone goals can really help to accelerate your progress. The next step is start. This step's relatively easy. It is relatively straightforward. It just means start, but it needs to be in the model because often we get this far and then another priority comes up and we don't end up starting what we said that we were going to do. That could be for a myriad of reasons. Probably the most popular one is because of procrastination. We say that we're going to start doing something and then we end up procrastinating. So if you're someone who needs help avoiding that procrastination, keep an eye out for my guide because there's some specific tips in there. The key things that I'll just talk through this evening include, firstly, recognizing that you're procrastinating. The first step to changing any behavior is to identify or recognize it. If you want to quit smoking, you have to recognize that it's an issue and that you are motivated to actually change that. The second one is analyze why you're procrastinating. If you need to understand why you're avoiding that task before you can actually tackle it. So have a think about, why is it that I haven't updated my resume? Is it because I think it's just too hard to do? Is it because you think I don't have time because there are other priorities? Identify the reason why and then try and change your thoughts around that, which flows on to the third point around start doing some anti-procrastination strategies. So just choose one thing. We often give ourselves too many things to do and become overwhelmed. Start by choosing just one thing that you've been procrastinating and make a commitment to complete that task. Promise yourself a reward. If you complete a task, reward yourself with a nice coffee or a walk around the block, whatever makes you happy, and just make sure you notice how good it feels when you finish things. You could minimize distractions, turn off your email, social media, television. It sounds so simple. It's achievable. We can all do it, but we don't. And finally, act as you go. So instead of saying things that, saying to yourself, you'll do things tomorrow or do it next week, just start doing it today. And the next step is evaluate. So we've all heard the saying, what gets measured gets done or gets repeated. So the key here is to ensure that you follow through with evaluating your goals, holding yourself accountable to ensure you follow through with them. So when setting those SMART goals, you'll be wanting to ask yourself, is it measurable? How will I know that I've been successful? You may also want to seek some objective feedback from others. So for example, you could ask your partner and closest friends, reflecting on my energy levels and general mood on a 5-point scale where 1 is extremely unhappy to 5 is extremely happy, how would you rate my overall happiness prior to and after my career change or since I've been doing X? Asking them to rate you on a 5-point scale may feel a little bit strange, but it's the way to avoid asking those leading bias questions. And finally, networking and mentoring, which is what WiM is all about. So you can see in the model, these words, networking and mentoring, are repeated lots of times. They go all the way around the outside of the model. And that's because they're important at all stages of the RAISE model. So not only can your network lead to new opportunities, but they can also be incredibly useful in helping you make those career-related decisions. So talk to your peers, mentors, and reach out to people outside of your industry. Network and meet new people. Find out what it's really like working in that dream industry or role, and don't let lockdowns or isolation stop you from networking. I think we've all proved to ourselves over the last few weeks or months that we can use Zoom to effectively collaborate and connect with people. So take advantage of that moving forward and use those opportunities to join those virtual networking events. Finding allies, champions, and sponsors. Don't undervalue how important having allies are. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, how do I find those allies or mentors or sponsors if I'm in an organization and I don't have them? And the thing I'll say about that is it all comes down to relationship building. And again, thinking about the core skills that you'll have as women working in media, particularly those who have maybe been trained in interviewing, or even if you haven't, you work in a team at work, you all know how to build relationships. You all know how to think strategically about how to achieve that outcome you're trying to get. So if you're thinking about how do you find an ally, a champion, or a sponsor, put all of those skills into practice in your personal life, trying to achieve that. And be prepared to engage with people who are different and who may not share your views. So I think often we go out seeking confirmation, trying to find people who will agree with us. But often the best advice is that you would not give yourself. So just don't confuse friendship with mentoring. LinkedIn also has a great career advice feature. Of course, you can reach out to individuals specifically on LinkedIn. I always like having a little stalk of people in a who have had a really successful career to see their trajectory. Of course, everyone has a different career path, and so you can just get ideas from that. But in addition, LinkedIn has also launched a career advice feature. If you haven't used that yet, I strongly recommend you do so. It's just available on your profile. You can simply say, I'd like to get connected to someone for career advice, and then LinkedIn can pair you with other people in your industry. And finally, on networking and mentoring, build your own personal board of directors. I'm sure a few of you have heard about this term. And basically what it means is that try and seek out a strong board of people who can provide you with all different types of advice. So these people are designed to be your mentors, people who you can call on for basically every decision that you would face. They can be your old boss, friends, family members, peers, other people in the industry, whoever gives you the best advice you need. They don't always need to be traditional mentors either. Okay, so we've talked through the model. Keep an eye out, as I said, for the career decision making guide that we'll send out after this session, which has a lot more information, including some really practical questions you can ask yourself to further work through this framework, and some links to some online readings and free online quizzes as well. And before we open it up to questions, just going to briefly talk through WiM's mentoring program. So I'm aware a number of you on the line have already signed up to the program. That's great. We're very excited to be reviewing all of the applications that we get in a few weeks. For those of you who haven't or who want to find out more about it, I'll briefly talk through more about mentoring and how you can get involved. So firstly, as we've spoken about today, we know that having a mentor can really help you push through those psychological and the physical barriers that we all experience in our career, and yet how hard it is to find those mentors. There was some recent research done that found that whilst 76% of professionals think that having a mentor is important, less than half have one now. So that's why we are so lucky to be working with Women in Media. They've done a great mentoring program over the last few years, and we're excited to partner with them to accelerate it and bring it to even more people this year. So the program has been designed for women like you, regardless of where you are located, what career stage you're at, or what type of media industry you're working in. We've listened to the feedback from previous WiM mentees and mentors around mentees, for example, telling us that they've struggled to be proactive and to come up with what their goals are to get out of the program. So we've designed training to coach them through that. And for mentors, we've heard that they've never actually been trained around how to be a great mentor or a coach. For those who have been a mentor previously, maybe they've just found their way into it and have done their very best to give everything to their mentee, but they were really wanted a little bit more structure and support around how to be a great coach and have those conversations. So there's training specifically designed for the mentors as well. The program is built for the modern woman in mind. And so what that means is, I know that you're all exceptionally busy. You're also located all over Australia. And so this program has been built using technology so that you can complete the training at home, at work, on the bus, if we get back to using buses one day, wherever, at a place that's convenient for you. And as you're answering the questions in the application form, as Kathy was saying, we'll ask you a number of detailed questions to really understand who you are, both personally and professionally. And you'll get the option to answer questions such as, I would rather be matched with someone or paired with someone who is the best fit for me, regardless of location. In other words, they could be anywhere around Australia, or I would rather be paired with someone who is in my city. So there's some really personalized questions there to try and pair you with someone who is really going to meet your goals, but also be aligned with your expectations around what you want out of a mentor and a mentee. So the best bit is that the mentoring program is free, and the expectations around time commitment is we expect everyone to meet once a month. That could be for an hour meeting, obviously longer if you wanted it to be. And then in addition to that, there's 5 online training modules. So we've designed them to really be really short and sharp. Every training module is less than 20 minutes each, and they're staggered throughout the program as well. So in terms of who can sign up, any woman working in media can apply for the program. So for mentees, as long as you're working beyond university, you can apply. And for mentors, anyone with at least 5 years experience. If you want to find out more, you can see the link there on the slide. You can just go to the Women in Media website and you can sign up by clicking the link on the mentoring program. So if you're wanting or looking for help to understand what your next step might be, or maybe you know what that next step is, but you want help getting there, your mentor can't get you a job, but they can coach you to get one. So consider signing up to the mentoring program today. Okay, well, this is coming to the end of the webinar from my point before we open it up to questions. So I just want to say thank you everyone very much for listening, and I hope that this has been valuable. Remember that tonight is just the beginning. I do hope that you continue to invest in yourself and your career by putting some of the tips and takeaways into action, trying to push through that procrastination stage into start mode, because we should all be able to invest that time in ourselves. We should all be able to articulate our values, strengths, and our why, and be clear on what our next step is.